In this part of the story, Aunt Polly is searching for Tom because he's been up to some mischief. She's worried about him and looking around the house. She catches him with an apple he wasn't supposed to have. Tom is supposed to paint a long fence as a punishment, and he doesn't like it. But then he gets a clever idea. He starts pretending to enjoy painting the fence, making it look like fun. His friend, Joe, comes by and wants to go play by the river. Tom tricks Joe into thinking that painting the fence is a fantastic job. Joe wants to do it instead and even gives Tom an apple to let him do it. Other friends see Joe painting the fence and want to try it too. Tom uses this to his advantage and gets lots of things from them in exchange for letting them paint. By the end of the day, the fence is beautifully painted, and Tom is seen as a hard worker, even though he didn't do much of the work. This chapter shows how clever and tricky Tom can be. Aunt Polly was very happy with the beautifully painted fence and gave Tom an apple. She told him he could go and play but not come home too late. On Monday morning, Tom didn't want to go to school, but Aunt Polly made him. On his way to school, he met his friend Huck Finn, who was a bit different from other kids. Huck didn't have a mother, and his father drank a lot. Huck lived on the streets, didn't go to school, and always looked dirty, but he was content. The town's mothers didn't like Huck, but Tom and his friends did. Tom asked Huck what he had, and Huck said it was a dead cat. He explained that he was going to take it to the graveyard at midnight because people said that a dead cat could call ghosts from their graves. Tom was curious but unsure if it was true. Huck invited Tom to come along and meow like a cat at his window around 11 o'clock to see if ghosts would appear. This made Tom late for school, and the teacher asked him why he was late. Tom began to explain, but stopped when he noticed a new girl in the classroom. She was very pretty, with blue eyes and long blonde hair, and Tom couldn't help but stare at her. Tom quickly fell in love with the new girl in school and wanted to sit next to her, but there was only one empty chair in the girl's part of the room, and it was next to her. Tom had to come up with a plan. He told the teacher that he was late because he'd been talking to Huckleberry Finn. The teacher got really mad because talking to Huck was worse than being late, so the teacher used a stick to give Tom a spanking. After that, the teacher told Tom to go and sit with the girls. Some kids laughed, but Tom did as he was told, and took the seat next to the new girl. He opened his book, and the other kids got back to work. After a while, the girl noticed an apple on the table in front of her. She put it back on Tom's side of the table, but it kept moving back to her side. Tom drew a picture of a house, and she liked it. Then he drew a big man next to the house, and she liked that too. The girl asked if Tom could draw her, and he did. She was impressed with his drawing skills and wanted him to teach her after school. Her name was Becky Thatcher, but just when things were going well, the teacher came over and moved Tom back to the boys' side of the room. That night, Tom went to bed around 9:30 and waited for Huck's signal, which came at 11 o'clock. Tom climbed out of his bedroom window quietly, and he and Huck left the village with the dead cat. The graveyard was about a mile from St. Petersburg, and when they arrived, they placed the dead cat on a grave and hid behind some trees. It was very dark and silent. Huck whispered to Tom, pointing at a new grave. It was Hoss Williams' grave, who had passed away last week. Tom wondered if the dead could hear them. Suddenly, Huck saw something and whispered to Tom, "Do you see that new grave there?" Tom whispered back that he could see something too. They noticed 3 figures coming closer to them, and Huck got scared, suggesting they go home. But Tom reassured Huck that the ghosts couldn't see them here because they could see through everything. The ghosts moved closer, and Huck realized they weren't ghosts but Muff Potter and Joe. They watched, relieved but still afraid. As the men walked through the graveyard, "The other man is Dr. Robinson," Tom asked. "What are they doing here?" Huck explained. "They're grave robbers. They're going to steal a body. My dad told me about it. The doctor wants a dead body to cut up and learn from." Tom told Huck to be quiet because the men were getting closer. The 3 men stopped at Hoss Williams' grave, and Joe and Muff Potter started digging. 10 minutes later, they had opened the grave. Muff Potter told the doctor, "You need to pay us $5 more to take the body to your house." But the doctor refused, saying he already paid them in the morning. Joe then reminded the doctor of a day 5 years ago when he asked for food, but the doctor didn't help him. Joe demanded the money, and he grabbed the doctor's arm. But the doctor hit him, and Joe fell to the ground. Muff Potter, upset, jumped on the doctor, and the 2 men started fighting. It happened very quickly, and Tom and Huck watched in astonishment with their mouths wide open. Joe got up, holding Muff Potter's knife, and he moved behind the doctor. The doctor hit Muff Potter on the head, and Muff fell to the ground. At the same time, Joe's knife went into the doctor's back, and the doctor fell to the ground on top of Muff Potter. The 2 boys couldn't watch anymore. They quietly moved away from the trees and then ran out of the graveyard back to the village. Joe stood by Hoss Williams' grave and looked down at the 2 men.